What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Stinkler, the Stinky Boy, the Stinky Man, and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a minute. Um, I still have been posting stuff, just not on this channel. If you want to check out the McHunker Sluggers League to watch Sluggers gameplay and stuff, AI versus CPU, whole league, whole draft thing. I got that idea from Akamos, so thanks to him for showing that idea to me because his video popped up on my recommended. Anyways, it's been a minute since I've made anything on the Stinkler channel. And if you have watched me at all, you know I made a lot of music reviews over the summer of 2025. And the last video I made was Are We There Yet? I still listen to music, and I still wanted to make something with music. So at the end of January, I had this idea. Well, let me take you through the process a little bit. I wanted to rate Octane and Don't Be Dumb. And I had this app on my phone, but it didn't really work out that well. Like it sucked. It was not a good app. It took like 18 years to load any page. And I was like, damn. So then I went to rate your music and I did what I said I'd do. I rated both albums, but here's the funny part. They have a new music tab. What? They have a new music tab? That's crazy. Anyways, so then that gave me this idea to just branch out because I listened to a lot of rap music. A lot of the reviews that I had made had been on rap songs. In fact, I think every single one of them is a rap artist that made a rap album that I then reviewed. So I wanted to rate newer albums that were coming out and make a list. So that's how this video came out, which is the best albums of blank months. This one's going to be January and February because I thought of it literally in like the last 2 days of January, so I didn't have a lot of time to listen to January albums. So during the whole month of February, I listened to quite a few January albums and then quite a few February albums. And I've listened to that many March ones so far. But certainly that will come out. Maybe I'll do another double header. Maybe it'll be like a March, April. I don't know. I've been yapping here. So let's get into just the albums already, right? Just to quickly preface, I had the idea that I was going to listen to every album all the way through, even if I didn't like it. Like if I was 3 songs in, I would listen to the whole thing. Now there's one album that broke this rule, and it was URGH, like the sound by Mandy, Indiana. This album was just a lot of noise being thrown at me. It literally hurt my ears. Not for me. I would still recommend checking it out. Maybe it's for you, but I literally couldn't listen to it. So even though it's not on the list, because I didn't listen to it the whole way through, I listened to half of the first song and then I said, no, I can't do this. I'm still putting it here as something that I had planned on listening to, but I couldn't make it all the way through. So I would still recommend checking this out because maybe it's not for my ears. Maybe it could be for your ears. Okay, so I listened to 11 albums from January 2026, and coming in at number 11th is My Ghost Go Ghost by Storm. I truly don't have a lot to say about MG Cubed, if I'm being completely honest. That's My Ghost Go Ghost for anybody. I was just using slang if you're new, if you're new here. I thought the production was really bad. I thought it sounded not finished or polished at all. There's not a single song I liked on here at all. This is under the experimental hip hop genre, and it's experimental for sure. But it all just sounded bad to me. Lyrically, it sounded bad. Vocally, it sounded bad. Everything just sounded just unfinished and just like a mess. There were lyrics, like I just said, but they were drowned out for the most part by how bad the beats were and how loud they were. And I also made it my mission to have a top 3 for every single album. The reason for that is that maybe the album's bad, but here's 3 good songs that you should listen to get the a big idea of it. Or here's 3 songs from this album I think you should listen to. If you like these, listen to the rest. I could not come up with a top 3 for this. I fucking hated every song on this album. I never want to think about it now that I have made this review. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to have a screenshot. of the fucking album cover, and that's it. And I'm gonna forget about this. I rated this album 0.5 stars out of 5. So basically a 1 out of 10. This deserves a 0, I'll be honest, but I couldn't give it that because of the rating system. At number 10, we have Slime Cry by NBA Youngboy. This is a trap rap album, if you want to know the genre. After Massa, I thought that Youngboy was going to spend a lot more time on each project. I reviewed Massa, if you want to watch that, somewhere on the channel. But I thought he was going to make like polished music, take time to really refine each song, give them all like a good meaning. But he didn't. He just instantly made another huge album with a bunch of songs that he probably just spent like an hour making. So he'd just get them out. I don't know. Slime Cry shows that he's just trying to get another bag. Each song was not bad per se. It just sounded like every other trap song that you've already heard 100,000 times. And every other song that he's made 100,000 times. He did nothing new, and it was boring. It was the same old Youngboy doing the same old Youngboy thing. And I gave it 1 star. Because I didn't think it was completely awful. I thought there were some redeemable parts. If you're a Youngboy fan, you're gonna like it. But for me, it was very boring. I do have a top 2. I couldn't find a top 3 for this. Steal the Show and Antisocial. I think that these are 2 songs that encompass everything good that this album possibly has. I think those ones are worth checking out. But everything else I think is really not. But if you are interested in a Youngboy album, he did release this. So if you think it's worth checking out for yourself, check it out. Okay, coming in at number 9, we have Be More Grateful by DaBaby. This is another trap app album. Technically a trap album. And you can see that influence, but he does something more interesting with the beats that make it feel not as trappy. But you can feel the influence of trap on it. Most of the songs are pretty bad though. Pop That Thing is pretty awful. Clear This Shit. Oh my goodness, that song made me so angry. So angry. He ruined the Flashing Lights beat. I don't know why Kanye cleared that. That is infuriating to me. It made me want to listen to Graduation more than listening to his album. I wanted to stop listening to his album and listen to Graduation. But I did finish it, and I can say it's a pretty bad album. He doesn't do anything crazy here. Lyrically uninteresting. The beats I think are better and more unique than anything on NBA Youngboy's new album, but it's still not great. It's like comparing poop to shit here, if I'm being completely honest. I gave this a 1.5 out of 5, and my top 3 was Don Julio Lemonade, which is actually a really good song. Surprisingly, it's like finding a piece of gold within a pile of doo-doo. Actually, a really fun song. Sticks and Stones was an okay song, and then Crank Some. These are my top 3 off of it that worth checking out. But I don't think the rest of the album really needs to be listened to unless you're trying to listen to how bad Pop That Thing is, or you want to see how he massacred the Flashing Lights beat on Clear This Shit. Next, at number 8, we have Megadeth by Megadeth. I believe this is their last album off of some research that I did. Maybe like their last big studio, I don't know. To preface this is the first Megadeth album I've ever listened to. So any Megadeth fans out there, keep this in mind. This is a heavy metal / thrash metal album. Instrumentally, I thought this was amazing. I love the instrumentals on every single song. I don't think there were bad instrumentals on any of them. I don't think they had any bad choices. I thought it all sounded really good. But like props to the guitarist and everybody else there. Like great job. Like this was great. The vocalist completely took me out of it. He did not match the vibe there at all, and I thought he lyrically sucked. So like the best way I can put this is that like if you've ever heard that album that dude made when he lost like internet for like a week, and all he had was like the Ghostbusters like soundtrack on CD or whatever. That he sounds like that guy, almost 1 for 1, which is crazy, and that really took me out of it. I couldn't get immersed in the song or be like, fuck yeah, this is fucking like heavy metal shit, dude. I couldn't do that. Um, they also did a cover of Ride the Lightning, which was I don't think they needed to do this at all, because it just didn't compare to the original at all. Their cover did not do the original justice. I gave this 2 stars. But if it was just the instruments, I would give this 4. That's how good I think the instruments are and how much the vocalist fucks it, in my opinion. My top 3 though was Tipping Point, Hey God, and I Am War. I would check those ones out. I again, the instruments are amazing. Next, at number 7 is No More Like This by PVA. This is technically a trip hop slash dark wave album. I listened to this because the album cover it really caught my attention because it was very different than a lot of other things I was seeing within the new music tab on Rate Your Music. And it just looked very, very interesting. I was like, I want to see what's going on with why this album cover is the way it is compared to what the music is going to be. And it made me feel like I was like in a club during like the early 2000s and I was like tripping really fucking hard. Like, man, like I there's just a lot of shit going on. And I think that was good. It brought an interesting vibe that I really haven't heard too much, if I'm going to be completely honest. There were quite a few songs that made the playlist. And this is very outside of what I usually listen to, but I enjoyed a lot of my time listening to this album. Lyrically, it was somewhat interesting, but not crazy. And there were some songs that had some very interesting lyrics, if I'm being honest. Vocally, thought it sounded pretty good. I had no qualms there. And instrumentally, I think you already know my thoughts in it. I already said that. I don't know why I'm bringing that up again. But I think the production of this album carries this a lot for me because again, I'm not really too big on the lyrics. And sometimes for some of these songs, it brings it down just a little bit. But when the lyrics do be hitting, I think it does help a lot. But I think it's the production at its core that makes me like this album like a lot. I gave it 3 stars, which is respectable. You know, it's a good album, I thought. My top 3 are Anger Song, Flood, and Peel. Peel was like that was a really interesting one. Coming in at number 6 is Secret Love by Dry Cleaning. This is an indie rock slash post-punk album. And this is a bit different than most of the other punk albums I've listened to, if I'm being completely honest. I think because it really takes in more of that indie rock at times than that punk, if I'm being completely honest. This is another one that I listened to because of the cover art, the cover of the album, because I thought it was very interesting. You know, the woman getting water poured in her eye. It was very interesting. I liked it a lot. And I thought this was a pretty good album, if I'm being completely honest. I love the instruments on every single song. I'm a sucker for guitar. It's hard to fuck it up. You'd be surprised people do fuck it up though. And I thought the vocalist had a great voice, if I'm being completely honest. What I didn't like is the imitation of Hobo Johnson. If you don't know who Hobo Johnson is, he kind of just like talks weirdly and anxiously over like the instrumentals of the song, and they do that a lot on this. They do it better than Hobo Johnson ever could. I hate Hobo Johnson. I hate Hobo Johnson with every fiber of my being, and they do it better than Hobo Johnson, but not by a whole lot. I don't like that type where it's just like them talking over these instruments that I think are good. Hobo Johnson doesn't have good instruments either. Anyways, what I'm getting at is I didn't like their imitation of Hobo Johnson. And I wish that the vocalist, she sung more because I think she has an amazing voice. And when she was singing, I was really into the songs. And when she was talking, I was really out of the songs, if I'm being honest. And I was tuning her out and just listening to the instrumentals. I think that Secret Love has a lot of potential, and I think Dry Cleaning as a band has a lot of potential. I'm excited to see and hear more out of them because I want to see what they do with their style, how they evolve it, and what they're gonna do next. I gave this album 3.5 stars. My top 3 was Secret Love, Joy, and My Soul / Half Pint, which that is just the name of the song. It's like a Tyler, you know, like 2 songs mashed together. Not naming 4 songs here, not breaking my own rules. Coming in at number 5, or the top 5, is Empty Hands by Poppy. This is an alt metal album. From what I know, is that Poppy used to be a YouTuber, and I've been told that she kind of did something weird or was just a weird person. I don't really know, if I'm being completely honest. I did a little bit of research, but I couldn't really find anything. Maybe I'm just really bad at doing research. So if you know more about Poppy, leave something in the comments down below and tell me why she should be number 5, or I don't know. Anyways, I love the heavy riffs on this album. I love the heavy guitar. I thought it sounded amazing. Poppy's voice is a huge shock because it contradicts like the heavy guitar so much on this. And I hated the first track. I despised the first track, but then in the second track I settled into it, and I really liked the contradiction that she had with the heavy guitar. I thought it worked really well, and that's why it kind of made it to top 5. I thought she had a really nice voice at that as well. I'm not really huge on the metal scene. I've just been getting into it a lot more recently through doing this whole thing that I am talking about right now. But because I'm not on the metal scene, I don't know if this is considered like a good or an okay like metal album, like what I'm giving it right now. But it sounded good to me, so I'm giving it 3.5 stars. My top 3 was Dying to Forget, If We're Following the Light, and Bruised Sky. Coming in at number 4 is Don't Be Dumb by A$AP Rocky. This is considered a trap album, but I wouldn't say that's exactly right. He certainly has dug his teeth more into that genre, but it's not really where the album's leaning towards. I don't know exactly where I would say it's exactly genred, but I just know I didn't really feel like this was overall a trap album. Anyways, I'll say I think this is his weakest album so far. Was it worth the wait? Kinda. There were some really mid points of this album, like really just dumb, awful tracks. STFU is one of his worst songs ever, in my opinion. For me, this album just didn't have that A$AP Rocky vibe to it, like that A$AP Rocky thumbprint, if I'm being completely honest. Like a lot of what his earlier stuff, like Long Live, A$AP, you know what I mean? Like I'm forgetting the other names right now. Doesn't really, I don't care. What I'm saying is that if you listen to old A$AP, it rocks. It's great. There's like no skips on those first 3 albums for the most part. Testing had some of that like rocky vibe, but Don't Be Dumb has kind of lost most of it in my opinion. And for me, it's his weakest album. It is top 4 out of what I listened to in January, also at 3.5 stars. My top 3 was Stay Here for Life, which is one of the better songs he's made, actually, if I'm being completely honest, Whiskey, and Helicopter. So, coming in at number 3 is Death in the Business of Wailing by C-Rose. This is an indie folk album. The name is what really interested me. The Death in the Business of Wailing? What? Like, there better be some wailing here. And there was. This was amazing. This is also very outside of what I normally listen to. Yeah, I'm not really a big folk person. I guess if you want to count Noah Kahan, maybe. But I don't know. That's a whole thing for a different time. We're not going to get into it. Anyways, this was genuinely good, and some of it was even like great music, and that like had me like in my feels and like damn, like this is good. Like this shit is good, dude. The vibes here are great for what they were going for. Like the vibes that they want you to feel is amazing. This album talks a lot about death and that idea of just being trapped in it, and it has some like insane visuals that they're telling you through the lyrics, like being stuck literally in the belly of a whale. Like it's just it's great. You have the instruments, you have the words you're saying, everything works here. There's not one bad thing that I can really say about this album. It's just it's not exactly what I'm always gonna go to, and for that reason I have to give it 4 stars. My top 3 was Dearly Missed, Belly of the Whale, and Dirt. Again, if this was more of my style, I think that this could have been a 4.5. I don't think I would have given it a 5 out of 5. I'm reserving 5 out of 5s for albums that like blow my damn socks off. But I think 4 stars is very respectable for this album. Coming in at number 2 is Octane by Don Toliver. This is considered a trap album, but you can really feel that neo-psychedelia presence in it. And I think that takes over more than the trap, but it certainly has that trap presence on there. I did not like this project my first 2 times listening to it. I listened to it um, right before my journalism class, the Friday that it dropped, and then I listened to it again driving to my girlfriend's house. And I didn't, or no, sorry, I listened to it in the car with my girlfriend driving around, and I didn't like it at all. And then on my third listen through, I just couldn't get enough, and I listened to it maybe 15 times since. I love this album. I love the vibes. All the songs are just like great. E85 gets stuck in my head a lot. Tiramisu gets stuck in my head a lot. Uh, I don't know. I think this is really good. This isn't trying to be like progressive in any way or have this like big deeper meaning. It's just trying to be, in my opinion, a fun album that has bangers on it, and I think it does that very well and to its part. It took me a few times to really get into the flow with it, but once I got into the flow, I was into the flow. Um, and that's why it's number 2 for January, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, the vibes are unmatched. Anyways, I gave this album 4 stars. My top 3 was Tiramisu, E85, and Callback. What a good top 3. So now you're probably wondering, what's number 1? What's number 1? Well, I'll tell you. It's ETDS by I Don't Know. And that's his name, IDK. You know what I'm saying? I know who made it. It was IDK, so don't even make that joke. This is considered abstract hip hop, but you can really feel like that boom bap presence on this for sure. It's also considered like a conscious rap as well, which is true. That's pretty conscious. Anyways, best album in January by a lot. I love Octane, but Octane doesn't even come close to ETDS. If I'm being completely honest with you, like this album is just crazy. Every single song was great, if I'm being honest. And I had a tough time making my top 3 because I love every song on this album. I've been having this album replaying a lot, not as much as Octane, but I've enjoyed it more than Octane, if I'm going to be completely honest. It took me one listen through to know that I loved this album. And out of the year so far, even considering February, I think this is one of the better albums, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think there's anything to hate about on this album. He has great features. He himself sounds good. All the beats sound great, and lyrically everything makes sense, and it's really good. I mean, on the one of the first bars that he has is, "If I was a killer, I would be like Luigi." What? Come on, it's so good. That's so good, dude. What? He has a posthumous MF Doom feature. He has a Pusha T feature. It's great. This is a great album, and I really can't recommend it enough. And keeping that in mind, I gave this a 4.5. I didn't give it a 5 out of 5. I think in the future, this could be a 5 out of 5, but right now I think it's too early to call this album a 10 out of 10. But I think it could really get there. Now, the top 3, this was tough, but I think I gotta give it to Flakka, I gotta give it to Cop, and I gotta give it to Halo. And I'll say, and you gotta listen to those 3, and then you gotta listen to the rest of the album. In fact, just listen to the whole album, because this whole album rocks. Okay, that was just January, so if you want a break, take a break, because that was 11 albums, and for February I have 18. We're not even halfway, although we are in February. We're not halfway. So anyways, hope you're done with your break. You pause the video, you're back, you're watching. Coming in at number 18, I have Doubted Me by Rocket Reese. When I was listening to this album, I was desperate for some new rap. I really wanted to listen to some more rap stuff. And I came across this on a Records post. If anybody follows Records or rap on Instagram, you know that they post like every Thursday or Wednesday, like the new music coming on Friday. And this is how I found this. This sucked. None of the production was good at all. This is considered to be a Chicago drill album, and I don't think that Kanye would approve of this at all. Like this was awful. I didn't like any of this. It sucked, dude. I don't even know if he was good lyrically because of how bad the beats were and how poorly they were mixed. I couldn't understand Rocket Reese at all, if I'm being honest. I have nothing else to say about the script. I didn't like it. 0.5 stars. I don't have a top 3. I don't think there are any good songs worth checking out, if I'm being completely honest. This is similar to MG Cubed. I couldn't find anything. Should you give it a listen? If you're that curious, I guess. Coming in at number 17 is Can I Get a Pack of Camel Lights by Geologist. This is a neo-psychedelia / post-rock album. And this album, it was doing a lot. Like some songs feel like they had just a lot of sounds in there for the sake of there being sounds without there being a lot of reason. Is that true? That's just how I felt. I can't say if that's completely true, because there were people that like this. There were people that liked MG Cubed. So not always, music is in the ear of the beholder, as I like to say. I often say, obviously. But I lost the count of how many instruments were used over the course of this album. In the last track, overall, there were like maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. Don't you dare. Or 9 or 10 that were used. And I think that worked against this album, if I'm being honest, because you could never catch a vibe and stay with it. There was never like a wave that you could ride, because there was another wave coming to hit you and take you on a different journey. And that worked against it, if I'm completely honest. I'm sure that people will like this album. I just don't think it was for me. I gave this 1.5 stars. I have a top 1. Sonora is the only song that I thought was worth checking out. I thought it was like actually good. I thought it sounded good. I didn't think that he just had sounds in there, or she. I don't really know who Geologist is, to be honest. I didn't do that much research. I listened to this album. I forgot about this album. Coming in at number 16 is Wuthering Heights by Charli XCX. This is a film soundtrack, but it's technically considered alt pop. And I think Charli XCX might have just had bad direction with this film and like what to make it sound like. The film is set in like the 1800s, so the sound that was happening in here already doesn't match the vibe of the time period. And I did not see the movie, but I have someone that I know that did watch the movie and told me that the music didn't match the vibe of the movie at all. So I think that she just had bad directions there, in terms of what she had to make. The music itself was not great either. I've heard a bit of Charli XCX, and I think that this was the worst I've heard of her. Like, this all just sounded like commercially bland, didn't sound great, and you could just chalk this up to a soundtrack, a film soundtrack, film album not sounding great. But I mean, look at Metro Boomin Spider-Verse album. Look at the first Spider-Verse album. Like, those were really good. Look at the one that 2 Chainz made for his short film. That one was good. Like, just because it's a film soundtrack doesn't mean that it has to be bad. So with that in mind, I gave this a 1.5. I do have a top 3 for it. Always Everything, Eyes of the World, and House. I don't think House is actually that great of a song, but for the memes, I put it in there. Coming in at number 15 is The Apple Tree Under the Sea by Hemlock Springs. This is a synth pop / dance pop album. You could really feel the 80s inspiration throughout this album. I knew that before I read her bio on Spotify, which said that she was just trying to have like a good time, inspired by the 80s or whatever. And I think Hemlock Springs has a lot of character, like very colorful, and very almost whimsical. If I'm being honest, her music is a little more deep than that, and I respect that. And this is another album that I think the instrumentals of would be higher than everything with the lyrics in. And lyrically, I don't think it was that bad, but the vocalist Hemlock Springs, I think, took me out of it a lot. I wasn't really with Hemlock Springs here. I thought that she sounded a little not weird, but just like I think her voice did take me out. So in that regard, her voice is not for me. But that is something that I think can be said for almost every single artist ever. Like, look at Kendrick Lamar, look at the vocalist from Megadeth. People love the vocalist from Megadeth. I didn't. Some people don't like Kendrick Lamar because of how he sounds. I love Kendrick Lamar because of how he sounds. So it's just that thing. I didn't vibe with how Hemlock Springs sounded. And there's that's just how it is. But I'm sure that people will like it. And because of that, I don't think I was into the sound that she was going for. I loved the 80s style, but I didn't like her voice on the 80s style. Um, the production is my biggest compliment. I thought most of the songs were produced really well. There were a few that I was like, okay, I'm not really with this beat, but the rest I thought were pretty dang good, if I'm being completely honest. I gave this 2 stars. My top 3, the beginning of the end, Sense in parentheses is, so like Senses, and Be the Girl, I thought were all pretty good. Coming in at number 14 is LeBron Flocka James 2K26 by Waka Flocka Flame. This is a trap album, and it's one of the best album covers I have ever seen in my life. I love this cover album. Like, they should put the shit in the Louvre. Like, it's that good. Now for the music, it was a lot of it just sounded the same to me, and after the 4th, real trap shit, I was over it. I was tired of hearing that producer tag, and it was starting to bore me, and more than anything, annoy me, which is not good. If someone were to ever bump these on their playlist, I wouldn't bat an eye. Like if they had, like if I was riding in a car with one of my friends, he put on some song from LeBron Flocka James 2K26, I'd be like, okay, I can listen to this, but I'm not of my own fruition going to put it on my playlist and listen to it. I gave this album 2 stars. My top 3 was The Belt, Blah Blah, and Throw It Up. Coming in at number 13 is Designer Junkie by Skate Star. This is another trap album, and you can almost see the Cardi influence with how present it is on this album. And I think that works against it a little bit, in my opinion. To preface this, I'm not the biggest Cardi fan or the Cardi sound, so anything that sounds similar to that, I'm already really not going to be a huge fan of. So that had some influence here after I was listening to it. And he was kind of imitating it, just the sound of how Cardi makes songs. He wasn't really imitating Cardi himself, which is good, and I respect that a lot, but he was imitating the sound of the songs that Cardi has, if I'm being completely honest. I think this dude has a lot of potential for sure, though. I just think that he needs to put his own thumbprint on it. Like, the production was really good. Lyrically, I thought it was okay. I thought it was lacking at some parts, but I saw the potential there. But I was able to get the top 3, which, not every album is able to get that. You would think every album would be able to have a top 3, but it's pretty hard. But yeah, I think that Skate Star is someone that I'm going to keep on my radar, because I think that if he can find his thumbprint in the music world, I think that he can be good. And I think if he focuses on making his songs lyrically interesting, it'll be good. With that in mind, I was able to get a top 3, right? Upper Echelon, NSD, and Black Sheep I actually thought were like pretty good songs that I actually added to my playlist, and I gave this 2.5 stars. Coming in at number 12 is Love Is Not Enough by Converge. This is a metalcore album. I also saw that it was a mathcore album. If there's any metalheads out there, I love the way that metal songs are like named for genres, like Pigfuck, if you've ever heard that. Like that's something that my friend showed me. Anyways, mathcore was not a genre that I was expecting to see. Wow, sorry, that really took me out of it. Just thinking about mathcore is crazy. Anyways, a lot of this is like heavy, like grunting and screaming, which isn't really my speed for the kind of metal that I like, if I'm being completely honest. Although Poppy had that, I just thought it sounded better than Converge's. I still enjoyed this album regardless of that. Like, I love the instrumentals, but the vocals bring this down for me. Not lyrically, just how the lyrics are delivered. So with that in mind, I gave this 2.5 stars. My top 3 was Amon Amak. That's how that's pronounced. We Were Never the Same, and Bad Faith. Coming in at number 11 is Buddha Bless the Streets by who else but Buddha Bless. If you don't know who Buddha Bless is, he's just a big producer within the rap scene. You've probably heard a song produced by Buddha, if I'm being completely honest. This is similar to like a Metro Boomin type of album, where Metro makes a bunch of songs, makes a bunch of beats, and he gets someone to or multiple people to be on them and to rap over them. Now Buddha's is not as good as Metro's by any means, and this album completely shows why Metro is much better than Buddha, at least in my opinion. He did nothing to make the sound his own. You can tell when something is a Metro Boomin album, not just because of the producer tag, but because of just, you know, it's good music and he's doing something creative. You're like, man, like there was a good mind here making this. Beside not Metro's new album, but everything else, he has his thumbprint on it. Buddha didn't have his thumbprint on it. It sounded like anybody could have really produced these. It sounded like every single other trap song I've ever heard. There was some highlights here, and I think that's the features. The features were interesting. They weren't the best, but they at least provided some depth here. Kodak Black surprisingly sounded pretty good on most of the songs that he was on, in my opinion, at least. And I'm a 2 Chainz fan, and I thought that he sounded good. But yeah, I think that Buddha really needed to make this like his album, but it sounded like, NBA Youngboy could have produced these songs. I don't know. Anyways, I gave this 2.5 stars. My top 3 was See the World, All She Got, and Same Soldier. We're finally in the top 10, and starting at number 10, we have Piss in the Wind by Joji. This is an alt R&B / alt pop album. You can really see the hip hop influence throughout this album, though. Especially with the features like Yeet and Don Toliver being on here, and a lot of the songs, you can tell they have that influence, especially from the trap scene. There's quite a few trap beats on numerous of these tracks, which is interesting because the only song I've ever heard from Joji is Glimpse of Us. So I was expecting something around that speed. I don't know why I should have known that he was gonna like change it up a little bit at least. But I went into here with a different idea of what it was gonna sound like, which is Zombie. If I'm gonna be honest, I should have known better. I thought it was chill though. I thought this was a chill album. I had a good time listening to it, but some of it did get a little boring. I was able to tune out these songs, which is not good. If I'm just able to completely tune it out on my first listen through. Each song does sound unique, but they weren't interesting. But that's better than each song sounding the same and being boring. It's like a Punnett square, you know what I mean? Anyways, features, again, they were good. I don't really have any complaints. I just really couldn't grab onto the album. It didn't make me really want to listen to more Joji or hope that Joji dropped more. With that in mind, I gave it 3 stars, though. It's commendable. My top 3 was Fragments, DYKILY, Did You Know I Love You? It's an acronym. And then Can't See Shit in the Club. Coming in at number 9 is Do You Still Love Me by Ella Mai. This is a contemporary R&B album. This is overall like very chill. But if you think of like a typical R&B album, this sounds like that as well. If I'm being honest, it didn't do too much to have its own specific like thumbprint on it. But there are vibes to be had here. If I'm being completely honest, you can tell that Ella Mai put effort into this album, regardless of what I just said about it sounding like every other R&B album. She sounded great on every single track. But because it sounded like every single other R&B album ever made, it kind of has gone under the radar for me ever since I've listened to it, if I'm being completely honest. But again, I appreciate the effort that was put into this album, because we're in a day and age where people just be making shit to try and make a bag. Be a young boy. Anyways, I gave this 3 stars. My top 3 was Luckiest Man, 100, and Outside. Coming in at number 8 is Before Artistry by A Boogie with the Hoodie. This is a short EP he released. It falls under the trap genre, but it felt different enough that I don't think it's entirely right just to say it's a trap EP. But it only had 6 songs on it, so it was very short. It was only like 18 minutes long, maybe 20 minutes if you really want to stretch it. Might have even been shorter than that. Anyways, I didn't like the first one at all, so I think this goes 5 or 6 for me, which is good, but it's also bad for something short like that. If it's only 6 songs, I think all 6 should be good, in my opinion. Sort of like Yay, the album Yay. there's some good songs on there, but as a whole, the album kind of falls flat because it goes like 5 or 7, pretty much. Uh, anyways, I thought that it was enjoyable. Even that one song I didn't like, I thought was listenable. I thought it was just meh, and I thought everything else was just good. I thought there was one like, oh yeah, okay, kind of song. You know what I mean? Um, anyways, I gave this 3 stars. My top 3 is Glitchin', Red Light, and Dead to me. This one is some I would really recommend listening to out of everything I've talked about so far because of how short it is. It's not a commitment at all. Coming in at number 7 is The Romantic by Bruno Mars. This might surprise some people, maybe. I don't know. This is a pop soul album, but with a whole lot of other genres attached to it that I don't want to go over the whole list. But just there's a lot of genres packed in here, if I'm being completely honest. This was a really hyped album. People were hyping up this album a lot, waiting for Bruno to release a new album, including myself. I've been waiting for Bruno to release for a while now. And I don't think it matched the hype. Now, I don't think that this is a bad album. Start to finish, it has a whole vibe that it keeps in. It's great and it's amazing, and it is just Bruno Mars doing his thing. But there weren't any songs I could truly attach myself to, and there weren't any songs that felt stacked like in his previous albums. You know what I mean? Like Grenade, like Smoking Out the Window, Leave the Door Open. Like there weren't any songs in here that you can truly be like, oh wow, like this is like top Bruno Mars, or like this is really great. I don't know. It missed that Bruno kind of feel to me, if I'm being completely honest. Now, again, I'm being a little negative here. I do think that this album was good. I had a good time. It's just compared to the other albums that Bruno has made, it falls flat in my opinion if you're comparing that. And with that in mind, I gave this 3.5 stars. My top 3 was Nothing Left, I Just Might, and On My Souls. Coming in at number 6 is Nothing's But to Happen by Mitski. This is an indie rock / Americana album. I thought this was pretty dang good. I'm unfamiliar with Mitski, but I loved the vibes that she was bringing here, if I'm being completely honest. I didn't write too many notes, to be completely honest with you, but each song did feel like pretty unique, and they felt interesting, which is good. And I had a really good time listening to this album, and it became very memorable to me, partially because of the album cover with the cat. I liked it, but also because each song just, I don't know, had a certain vibe to it that I really liked. So I gave this 4 stars. My top 3 is Lightning, Where's My Phone, and If I Leave. Finally, in the top 5 of February, if you're still here, comment. I'm still here. Anyways, number 5 is Masquerade by Cardinals. This is an indie rock / post-punk album. I initially wanted to listen to this because of the cover art. This is genuinely one of the better covers to an album that I've ever seen. I really like the art here. This is not me joking, like with LeBron Flocka 2K26 Waka Flocka James. I thought this was genuinely really cool, so I wanted to check it out because of that. But the cover does not match the vibe of the album at all. I'm a little weary of indie rock. I've listened to some pretty bad indie rock albums, but this was really, really good. Instrumentally, vocally, and lyrically, everything just like came together. And it could grow on me more, but it kind of reminded me, not exactly of like Radiohead. I don't want to use that comparison, if I'm being completely honest. But it gave me some similar hints, if I'm gonna be honest there. And I think that's what drew me in a little more, because I do like Radiohead. But I do want to listen to Masquerade some more. And I'm excited to see where the Cardinals go next, or just Cardinals, where Cardinals goes next. I gave this 4 stars. My top 3 was Masquerade, She Makes Me Real, and Barbed Wire. Coming in at number 4, we have Inverses by Carnivool. This is an alt-metal, progressive metal album. I thought this shit rocked, if I'm being completely honest. I love the heavy guitars on each song. I love the build-up that each song had. I thought lyrically the vocalist like nailed it. And I thought lyrically, it wasn't insane, but I thought it was interesting enough to like keep me going. And you could actually hear and understand the vocals, the lyrics, which I respect a lot. I love the themes that this album was going for, like death, which is something I think a lot of metal talks about. But I think the way that they did it was interesting, if I'm going to be completely honest. Sort of like in a similar vein of death and the business of wailing. I gave this 4 stars. My top 3 was animation, drone, and opal. Coming in at number 3 is Feelin' by Melissa Aldana. Yeah, that's right. I listen to jazz, and I like jazz a lot. I wish I listened to some more that came out in February. I will certainly be finding jazz that came out in March. Anyways, but I'm a little more into the Japanese city pop scene right now, than trying to listen to newer jazz. If I'm being completely honest with you. Anyways, this album is inspired by Fillin'. It's about the name of it, which is a genre of jazz in Cuba, which was inspired by American jazz. If I researched that properly. This had a great romantic vibe to it, but better than jazz that you would hear in like a fancy restaurant. It gives hints of that, but it's just like so much better. And I love the instruments on here, obviously. And you can really hear kind of the rawness of it, which I respect a lot. Um, uh, some of these tracks, some of these songs have like vocals on them, and they sound amazing. It sounds great. I'm a sucker for some jazz, and this album sucked me in. You have to listen to how all of the instruments just communicate, especially when you get some lyrics in there. Anyways, I gave this 4 stars. My top 3 was Note and Panes Mas, Las Rosas No Hablan, and Ocaso. Ocaso, like Ocaso. Just spelling it out for you. Coming in at number 2 is Casino by Baby Keem. This is a pop rap album, but there's certainly a lot more here. Am I going to tell you what the genres are? No, because I don't feel like racking my head right now to figure them out. But anyways, I think this album was worth the wait. Unlike Don't Be Dumb and Bruno Mars' new album. Anyways, every song is awesome. I used to hate Birds and the Bees, but it has really grown on me a lot. So I think this album officially has gone 11 for 11, if I'm being completely honest. There's great storytelling on most of the tracks. Dare I say, not every single track. Like, I think he did great. If I have to find one complaint, which I love doing, is that I don't think Kendrick has great features on this album. And I don't think they take away from the songs, but I do think the songs would be better without it. If I'm being like completely honest with you. But nevertheless, we got more new Kendrick, so I am happy about that. There's definitely some great digging and meaning that you can find and take out of these songs. I'm not going to do that for you because I haven't done that for myself, but I know it's there. So I love that when an album does offer that. Anyways, 4 stars for this. My top 3 is Dramatic Girl, I Am Not a Lyricist, and Good Flirts. And coming in at number 1, you probably could have predicted it, if I'm going to be honest. It's The Fall Off by J. Cole. It could it be any other album? Could it be any other album? Come on. I mean, what else could it be? This is my album of the year right now. This was crazy. J. Cole went 24 for 24. This album's like an hour and 20 minutes long. It's long, man. You gotta sit down and be dedicated to listening to this shit. But it's so good, and you should sit down and listen to this. It's not glazed. This album is just that good. The storytelling is amazing on each and every single song. Each and every single song has amazing wordplay. Each and every single song has amazing lyrics. The beats on every single song are amazing. Each song feels unique and fresh and new every single time you're listening to it. You don't get bored because no 2 song sounds the same. They all have their own story. They all have their own thing going on, and it's great. It's a long album, but each second is worth it. This is 5 out of 5. 10 out of 10. J. Cole fucking cooked here. My top 3 is Safety, Let Out, and What If. And this was the hardest top 3 that I had to make because goddamn, I think you could substitute any 3 songs on this album on here. Well, if you made it this far, thank you. Let me know if you agree with my list. If there's anything you would change. Or if there's any albums that you think I really missed out of here, there probably are. There's so many damn albums getting released every single day that I just can't keep up with it, if I'm being completely honest. If you liked it, leave a like, maybe subscribe. I guess comment. I already said that though. I have a peek video with some of my friends that should be coming up soon after this if I feel motivated to edit it. 'Cause I have to edit this first, and then, anyways, that's some metagaming right there. I'll see you guys in whatever video I'll be making next. Peace.